You say you are tired. You say the timing is not right. You say you are trying. No, what you are doing is hiding behind excuses, behind comfort, behind lies you keep telling yourself to avoid the pain of growth. Every excuse you make is a knife in the back of your own potential. Every justification is a rope tightening around the life you were meant to live. You call it reasons, the truth. It is weakness in disguise. Let me tell you something. Nobody else will. Excuses do not protect you. They destroy you. They're not safety nets. They are cages. And every day you defend them, you shrink. You are not out of time. You are out of truth. You are not out of chances. You are out of courage. So here's your wake-up call. Today, we rip open every excuse, every soft lie, every fake limitation that has infected your mind. Today, the beast inside you either dies or wakes up. But what you will not do after this is go back to sleep. Because excuses are not small. Excuses are lethal. If you do not kill them, they will kill everything you could have been. Your excuses are not just thoughts. They are well-constructed lies dressed as logic. They are mental defenses pretending to be reasons. They feel true. They sound convincing, but they are the enemy. You tell yourself you are too tired, too late, too old, too young, not ready, not supported. You say it is just not the right time, that you will begin once things calm down, that you need clarity before commitment. These words, these thoughts, they feel honest, they feel responsible, they feel adult, but they are not. They are camouflage, or fear in disguise. They are weakness with a voice. Your comfort zone's hiring a lawyer. And you, you are the courtroom. You've been sold a lie. A lie so seductive, so perfectly engineered, it became a belief system. And that belief system became your identity. An identity wrapped in logic, but driven by fear. You learn to explain your lack of action. You learn to justify stillness. You learn to make peace with smallness. And it started young. Maybe a teacher once told you that you were not naturally gifted. Maybe a parent told you to be realistic. Maybe a friend told you that trying too hard is embarrassing. And without realizing it, you started listening. Not just to them, but to the voice they implanted in you. And that voice became your voice. The voice of reason, the voice of caution, the voice of delay. But it was never your voice. It was never your truth. It was your programming. You were trained to believe that effort without a guarantee is foolish. You were conditioned to believe that discomfort means you are off course. You were taught that failure is final, when it is actually the price of transformation. Look closely. Excuses always sound like wisdom. They are not built on reality. They are built on protection. Your brain does not care if you grow. It cares if you survive, and growth feels like death to the comfort-obsessed mind. The body says, let us rest. The mind says, let us stay safe, and you call it logic. You convince yourself that it is self-care, that it is mental health, it is balance. But the truth is simpler, darker, and more dangerous. You are hiding. You are playing small. You are choosing ease over evolution. And you are doing it behind the mask of maturity. Let me break it down. Excuses are mental insurance policies against disappointment. They let you feel in control of failure before it even arrives. They say, if I do not try fully, then I cannot truly fail. They say, if I hold back, then I will not be exposed. They say, if I stay quiet, I will not be rejected. But every excuse is also a chain. A chain around your potential, around your greatness, around the person you could have been. And that chain, you forged it. Link by link. Lie by lie. Justification by justification. You see, the most dangerous lies are the ones that sound like love. Excuses sound like protection. They sound like self-compassion. But real self-love is not coddling. It is confrontation. Excuses avoid the mirror. Truth stares into it. Excuses whisper, you are doing your best. Truth says, no, you are not, but you could. And this is where transformation begins. Not in motivation. Not in podcasts, or highlight reels, or motivational quotes, but in brutal honesty. You must ask yourself, are your reasons real? Or are they rehearsed? Are your limits natural? Or are they narratives? Did you test your edge? Or did you just draw a safe circle around your comfort zone and call it destiny? You say you are too busy, but are you busy building or busy distracting? You say you are too tired. But are you tired from effort or from avoiding the thing that matters? You say you are not ready. But are you truly unprepared or just unwilling to feel exposed? This is not an attack. It is an awakening, because you cannot fix what you still defend. As long as your excuses have value, your greatness has none. As long as your reasons are sacred, your results are sacrificed. You must make a decision. Are you in love with your limits? Or are you ready to betray them? Because every dream demands betrayal. Betrayal of comfort, of old beliefs, of mental stories passed down by fear. And that betrayal is not cruelty. It is the highest form of courage. You will not find power in affirmations that let you stay soft. You will not find growth in stories that keep you safe. You will find it in the burn. In the tearing down of false logic. In the confrontation with the lies you have told yourself for years. And that confrontation will hurt. But pain is the doorway to power. Truth burns before it liberates. So stop selling yourself on the comfort of your cage. Stop explaining why you are not where you want to be. Stop using reality as a shield when it was always a reflection. You say you want to change? Then kill the lie. You say you want to rise? Then burn the excuse. You say you are ready? Then prove it. Because the illusion of justification is exactly that, an illusion. And it only has power if you keep believing. Comfort is the most seductive enemy you will ever face. It does not shout. It does not threaten, does not push, pull, or scream. It gently strokes your ego. It hands you a warm drink and says, stay a little longer. You have earned this. And at first you believe it. You think comfort is the reward for hard work.
Yes.
You think it is rest. You think it is peace. But in truth, it is a cage made of soft pillows and sweet lies. The most dangerous part? You will not even know you are dying inside. Comfort wears the mask of kindness. It says, you deserve to take it easy. You do not need to push today. Life is meant to be enjoyed. And that sounds nice. But nice is not the same as necessary. Kindness is not the same as truth. Because truth says this: if you live in comfort, you will die in mediocrity. Comfort slowly lowers your standards while convincing you nothing has changed. You begin accepting things you once swore you would never tolerate. You begin avoiding the mirror, avoiding the scale, avoiding the work, avoiding the truth. And it all starts small. You hit snooze once, then twice. Then it becomes normal. You skip the workout, then skip again. You tell yourself, I will start fresh next week. You delay the hard conversation. You put off the big risk. You shrink from the difficult task. And each time comfort cheers you on, it celebrates your avoidance. It rewards your retreat. But underneath that celebration is a quiet funeral. For the person you were supposed to become, comfort kills in silence. You do not see the damage instantly. There is no explosion. It's no collapse. Just a slow leak. Day by day, standard by standard, till one morning. You look in the mirror and do not recognize the person staring back. He is softer, weaker, quieter, less alive. Not because he was broken, but because he was safe. Safe is the enemy of greatness. Do you understand that? Every legendary transformation began with discomfort. Every world changer, every record breaker, every unstoppable soul ran toward what others ran from. They did not crave safety. They craved pressure. They craved the fight, because they understood this law. Growth lives where comfort dies. The moment you feel too cozy, you should feel a warning. You should hear an alarm going off in your soul, because comfort does not stay still. It spreads. What begins as a break becomes a habit. What starts as rest becomes an excuse. What feels like healing becomes hiding. And the scariest part, comfort is applauded by the world. Society worships balance. Take care of yourself. Do not overwork. Give yourself grace. And yes, there is wisdom in rest. But rest must be earned, and comfort must be controlled. Because when comfort becomes your lifestyle, discipline becomes your enemy. Effort becomes optional, and dreams become memories. People say, do not burn out. But let me tell you the truth. Most people are not burning out. They are rusting out. They are slowly decaying, mentally and physically, because they refuse to stretch, refuse to sweat. They refuse to suffer on purpose. And what is worse? They justify it. They say, I am just being kind to myself. I'm listening to my body. I'm giving myself time. Time without intention is waste, and waste always leads to regret. There is no peace in avoidance. There is no joy in potential left unclaimed. Comfort is not your friend. It is your tempter, your seducer. It offers you relief, but sells you regret. Because relief does not build empires. Relief does not make legends. Relief does not create freedom. Relief is the break, but not the breakthrough. You cannot escape this law. The more comfort you chase, the less growth you achieve. That is where your power wakes up. So if you are tired of waiting, tired of wondering, tired of feeling empty in a life that looks nice from the outside, then burn the cushions, flip the mattress, turn off the soothing voices that tell you it is okay to stay the same, and chase the discomfort. Hunt the pain, run into the fire, because that fire, that is where greatness begins. Comfort is the killer, but pain is the prophet. Part 3. The high price of low standards. You tell yourself it is not that serious. You say, at least I tried. You whisper, I did more than most. But deep inside, something starts to rot. Not instantly, not loudly, but slowly, invisibly, like rust spreading on steel. That is what low standards do. They erode your power. They kill your potential not with violence, but with softness, with comfort. With that subtle shrug that says, this is good enough, but it is not, and you know it. Every excuse you make has a hidden cost, not just in lost time, just in missed chances, but in the slow death of who you were supposed to become. You think you were just skipping the gym today? You think you were just hitting snooze once? You think you were just postponing the hard conversation, the bold move, the thing you fear? But here's the truth. Nothing you skip is ever truly free. Every low-standard decision has a price tag, and it is always higher than you think. You do not feel it at first. That is what makes it so dangerous. You still look the same. You still function. You still laugh. You still smile. But you are no longer expanding. You are no longer rising. And the worst part, you are starting to settle, to justify, to normalize the erosion. You start calling your fear logic. You call your hesitation wisdom. You call your apathy peace. But it is none of those things. It is the sound of potential suffocating. People think failure is a dramatic fall, a grand moment of collapse. But real failure is quiet. It is silent decay. It is the decision to not push today. It is the agreement you make with your own weakness. It is saying, this is enough, when your soul knows it is not. That is the kind of failure no one sees until it is too late. The kind that haunts you when you are alone. The kind that shows up in your eyes when you are older, when you are staring at what could have been. Let me ask you, how many years have you already lost because of low standards? How many times have you said, I am doing okay, when you knew you were meant for greatness? How many times have you watched someone else win, not because they were better, but because they refused to settle? That is the high price we pay. It's not in one moment, but in thousands of small invisible moments where we said, later, maybe, or why bother? Look around you. The people who are drowning are not always the ones who gave up everything. They are often the ones who gave up just enough to avoid pain, enough to stay comfortable, enough to feel like they are doing something, while never doing what actually matters. That is the tragedy, because comfort is addictive, and low standards are the needle. You can lie to everyone else, but you cannot lie to yourself forever. You feel the cost in your confidence, in your self-respect, in your hunger. You feel it every time you walk past the mirror and avoid looking. You feel it when you watch others succeed and call it luck. Just to mask your own regret, you feel it when your energy fades, when your dreams feel farther, when your life feels like maintenance instead of mission. That is not living. That is surviving, and you were not born to survive. You were born to conquer. But here is the paradox. The longer you accept low standards, the harder it becomes to remember what high ones even felt like. You forget what it is like to wake up with fire, to walk with urgency, to fight for something real. Start chasing distractions instead of destiny. You start caring more about looking busy than being excellent. And deep down, you hate it. Not because you are weak, but because your soul remembers what it is capable of. You can feel it, can you not? That silent voice screaming inside you. This is not who you are. It is not loud, but it is consistent. It does not beg, it reminds. It says, you were made for more, so act like it. And the longer you ignore it, the heavier it gets. That is the price. The weight of wasted potential. It is not about being perfect. It is about having a standard that scares you, that stretches you, demands you show up even when you do not feel like it. Because growth is not found in what is easy, it is found in what is necessary. In the hard reps, the brutal truths. The nights you stay up building instead of scrolling. The mornings you rise when everything inside you says, just 5 more minutes. That is where power lives, and that is where most people tap out. You think your standard is not bad? Then you are already losing. Because not bad is the enemy of greatness. It is the lie that says, at least you are not like them. But you are never supposed to compare yourself to mediocrity. You were supposed to lead, to dominate, to become the version of yourself that makes others rise just by being in the room. So stop apologizing for having high standards, for wanting more, for refusing to settle. Let people call you intense. Let them say you are too serious. Let them roll their eyes.
Hey!
They are not building what you are building. They're not carrying what you are carrying. They're not haunted by what haunts you. And if you have already settled, if you have already slipped into patterns that shrink you, there is still time. But not much. Because every day you wait, the price increases. The regret deepens. The road back gets harder, but it is still there. It is still possible. You just have to decide. And yes, it is a decision. Not a feeling, not a miracle, not a perfect plan. A decision, right now. To raise the standard, to draw the line, to burn the excuses, to bury the old you, and resurrect the one who refuses to die quietly. Let others play small. Let others rationalize. Let others live average. You are different. You feel it in your bones. No, life is not meant to be tolerated. It is meant to be transformed. And that begins with refusing to accept anything less than excellence. You have seen what low standards get you. You have lived it, felt it. Now it is time to rise, not for applause, not for validation, because you finally understand what it costs when you do not. Every time you point your finger at someone else, you lose a little bit of your power. Every time you say, "It is not my fault," you hand over the key to your future. That is what excuses do. They shift the blame. They protect your ego by placing responsibility on your past, your parents, your pain, or the people around you. And slowly, silently, they steal the one thing that could have changed everything: your ownership. Blame feels good in the moment. It gives you a story. It lets you say, "I could have been great if only. If only they had treated me better. If only life had been fair. If only I had more support. If only I had a better start." But those stories do not set you free. They chain you to a past you were meant to rise from. Well, taking ownership is not about denying what happened to you. It is about refusing to let what happened become the ceiling of your potential. Maybe you did not choose your trauma. Maybe you did not choose your environment. Maybe life handed you a rough deck. But you still have to play. You still have to move. You still have to decide. Will you stay small because of what happened? Or will you rise in spite of it? Ownership is brutal. It strips away every excuse. It forces you to look in the mirror and say, "I am the reason I am not where I want to be. Not my father, not my boss, not the world. Me." That is a hard pill to swallow, but it is also the only one that leads to freedom. Because once you accept full responsibility, you regain full control. You decide to stop explaining. You decide to stop pointing fingers. You decide that no matter what the past has done to you, it will not define what you become. You decide to carry the weight of your own life, even when it feels impossible. And here is the secret. They never told you that carrying that weight makes you stronger, that lifting that responsibility day after day builds something in you that no excuse ever could. A core of steel, a heart that does not flinch, a mind that is unshakable. Excuses coddle you. Ownership confronts you, and only one of them transforms you. You want to know why some people keep rising while others keep sinking? It is not luck. It is not talent. It is not connections. It is responsibility. The ones who rise say, "This is mine." They do not wait for permission. They do not ask for pity. They act. They show up on days they feel broken. They push when the world says quit. They bleed and keep going. Not because they are fearless, but because they know everything they want is on the other side of responsibility. So the question is not what happened to you. The question is, what will you do about it? Will you keep blaming the economy, your family, your trauma? Or will you rise with everything you have got and say, enough, you get one life. One chance to write your name into the fire of this world. You are going to let it slip because someone did not believe in you, because you were tired, because you were hurt. You are better than that. Take the pain, own the weight, break the excuse. The world does not need another victim. It needs you, fully alive, fully awake, fully responsible. That is where your real power lives. That is where change begins. Not in your past, not in their hands, not in your feelings, in your choice. Choose ownership, or choose to stay the same. But never lie to yourself again about what is holding you back, because now you know the truth. It is not them, it is not the world, it is not the pain, it is you. And that is exactly why you can change it all. There is a marketplace you never meant to join, but you did. A place where failure is forgiven as long as you have the right excuse, where mediocrity is sold wrapped in pretty packaging, where staying small is not just tolerated, it is celebrated. This is the excuse economy, and you've been spending your entire life in it without even knowing. In this economy, the currency is victimhood. The reward is pity, and the product, permission. Permission to stay the same. Permission to play small. Permission to never try again. Think about it. You failed a test, but you were tired. You missed a deadline, but your mental health was struggling. You quit early, but you needed self-care. The world nods its head, claps for your honesty. It validates your weakness, and slowly, you begin to believe that comfort is courage. You begin to confuse being kind to yourself with being soft on yourself. But here is the truth. This economy is rigged. It is built to keep you calm, quiet, comfortable, and controlled. Because powerful people are dangerous. Disciplined people are hard to manipulate. Self-accountable people do not follow the herd. So they feed you stories. Subtle ones, like your trauma is your identity. Your feelings define your truth. If it is hard, it must be wrong. They tell you it is brave to walk away from anything that challenges you. They tell you boundaries are sacred, even if those boundaries become walls around your potential. And when you start to shrink, when you stop reaching, when you give up on your greatness, they do not mourn your loss. They applaud your healing. But healing without hunger becomes sedation. And if you are not careful, you will spend your entire life recovering from a war you never fought. Look around. How many people are living inside that lie right now? How many people have built their personality around pain they were supposed to outgrow? How many people wear excuses like armor to defend themselves from expectation? We have created a culture where ambition is suspicious, hard work is toxic, and sacrifice is labeled self-abuse. So now the broken are praised for staying broken, and the bold are attacked for daring to rise. That is the excuse economy. It does not care about your destiny. It only cares that you stay predictable. It gives you everything except results. It gives you likes, but not growth. It gives you community, but not clarity. It makes you feel good while you lose. And here is the sick part. The longer you live in it, the more righteous you feel. Because in this economy, the more reasons you have for your weakness, the more morally superior you become. You become the one who knows the truth, the one who protects peace, the one who understands balance. But what you are really doing is protecting your fear. You are balancing your dreams with your doubts. You are understanding how to live a life that does not threaten anyone, including yourself. Excuses buy you peace, but at the price of purpose. And it is a terrible trade. Now ask yourself this. What are you still buying from this system? What beliefs have you purchased that are now limiting you? Do you believe you cannot win because you were never taught how? Do you believe you are too old, too broken, too late? Do you believe your anxiety disqualifies you from impact? Do you believe your depression makes you exempt from discipline? You did not come up with those ideas. They were sold to you. Packaged in books, quotes, memes, movements, all designed to keep you safe, but stuck. And if you dare reject those ideas, you are told you are being toxic, insensitive, privileged. Because in the excuse economy, truth is offensive. Discipline is dangerous. Excellence is elitist. But do you know what else is dangerous? A life unlived. A potential rotting on the vine because it made too much sense to give up. There are people with your name, your talent, your background, who are crushing it, not because they had better conditions, but because they rejected the lie that says you need everything to be perfect before you try. They took the hit. They felt the pain, and they moved anyway. And while you were busy justifying your delay, they were building something you might never catch up to. Not because you are not capable, but because you are too busy explaining why it is hard. Let me ask you a hard question. What if nobody cares about your reasons? What if life is not going to wait for you to feel ready? What if the only way out is action, ownership, and relentless movement, regardless of emotion? In the excusey economy, that kind of mindset makes you an outlaw. But in the real world, the world of results, the world of legacy, the world of power, that mindset is your only ticket. You can keep selling your story and buying applause, or you can shut the whole thing down. You can walk out of the marketplace, burn the booth, build a life based on action, not explanation. Because in the end, no one will care why you did not make it. They will only see that you did not, and neither will you care. You will just wish you had started sooner. Pushed harder. Stop listening to a system that was never built for your greatness. Excuse economy is loud, but your silence can be louder. Not the silence of quitting, but the silence of grinding. The silence of someone who stopped talking and started changing. That is the economy you were meant to live in. No refunds. No pity. Just power. Are you ready to stop trading your future for cheap comfort? Then walk out, right now. Leave the excuses on the table. Take back the fire you were always meant to carry. Because your greatness was never for sale. It was buried under every lie they convinced you to buy. Burn it all out and rise. You are not who you are. You are who you tell yourself you are. That voice in your head, the constant narrator explaining your failure, justifying your decisions, predicting your future, that is not reality. That is the story. And the story runs everything. You think you failed because you were not good enough? No. You failed because somewhere deep inside you believed failure was inevitable. You expected it. You prepared for it. You quietly accepted it before it ever showed up. You dressed it up in logic. You said it is too late. It is not the right time. I have too much going on. But that was never the truth. It was just the story you told yourself, so you could sleep at night without the guilt of knowing you never gave everything. And you told it so many times it became your truth. You repeated it until it became your identity. I am not consistent. I am an overthinker. I just do not have motivation. I am naturally lazy. This is just who I am. No, this is just the version of you rehearsed for years. This is the character you have perfected in your mind. But what if you are not lazy? What if you are not broken? What if you are just committed to the wrong narrative? Because everything you do flows from the story. If the story is I am a victim, then every challenge becomes proof of unfairness. If the story is I never finish things, then the second it gets hard you will quit, because that fits the script. If the story is I am built for greatness, then pain becomes fuel, failure becomes a teacher, and excuses sound like lies. So what is your story? Be honest. What is the inner monologue that has been running your life? When you fail, what do you say? When you feel pain, what do you think? When someone doubts you, what do you tell yourself? That voice matters more than anything. It shapes the lens. It becomes your filter. It decides what you see, what you do, what you accept as possible. And for most people, that voice was built by pain. Someone told you you were not smart. Someone said you were too emotional. You were compared, criticized, overlooked, and slowly you began to script yourself around their words. And now you live inside a prison that does not even belong to you. But you have decorated the walls with quotes and self-awareness and logic to make it feel like home. Except it is not. It is not home. It is not safe. It is not you. It is just a story. And stories can be rewritten, but that will not happen automatically. You have to fight for the new narrative. You have to interrupt the script. You have to become aware every time that voice speaks up with weakness, and respond with truth, because excuses are not always loud. Sometimes they sound like your best friend. Sometimes they wear the mask of self-compassion. Sometimes they whisper things that make perfect sense, but kill your greatness in silence. Like, it is okay to rest today. I will just start tomorrow. I am not in the right headspace. It is not that serious. Those are stories, not truth. They are permissions, not principles. And the more you buy them, the more your potential is sold off piece by piece, until you are left with nothing but memories of who you could have been. You say you want to change? Have you changed your narrative? You say you want success, but do you still call yourself average? You say you were ready, but do you still say, I am not the type of person who... And then list your limitations like a resume of failure. Words shape worlds. The world inside you and the one around you. Every I can builds a bridge. Every I cannot builds a wall. Most people have built fortresses out of the bricks of their own doubts. They are not trapped by reality. They're trapped by imagination. But imagination in the wrong direction becomes a nightmare. You need to flip the script. You need to wake up and say, this is the last day I speak weakness over myself. This is the last time I pretend that my past equals my future. This is the last moment I let comfort write my story. You are not soft. You are not inconsistent. You are not lost. You are not lazy. You're not broken. You're a beast who got buried under polite lies and socially acceptable excuses. And you can dig yourself out, but only with new words, new beliefs, new lines in the script. Start small if you have to. Say it even if you do not believe it yet. Say it until your body starts to listen. Say it until your identity cracks and the real you starts to bleed through. Say, I finish what I start. I do not quit when it gets hard. I do not need motivation to move. I am not scared of pain. I refuse to be average. Say it again. Say it louder. Say it in your sleep. Say it with tears in your eyes if you have to, because the old story will not go quietly. It will fight for survival. It will beg you to stay. It will seduce you with comfort and memories and logic. Do not fall for it. Burn the book. Tear the pages. Write your own, because in the end, no one else will. No one is coming to rewrite your destiny. No one is coming to flip the script. That is your job. You do not need new circumstances. You need new words. You need new self-talk. You need to stop worshiping the story and start chasing the truth. And the truth is, you are powerful beyond measure. But you will never touch it as long as you keep telling yourself you are not. So today, stop saying it. Stop thinking it. Stop identifying with the weakness you were never meant to carry. You are not your excuse. You are not your delay. You are not your doubts. You are the author now. Write like your life depends on it, because it does. Pain is not the enemy. Pain is the process. Pain is the doorway between who you are and who you are meant to be. But most people spend their lives avoiding it. They chase ease. They pray for comfort. They build lives that are designed to never feel discomfort again, and then they wonder why they feel empty. You say you want to grow, but growth hurts. You say you want to win, but winning demands sacrifice. Say you want to lead, but leadership means being misunderstood, doubted, and attacked. Pain is not optional. Pain is the entry fee. And if you are not willing to pay, you are not ready to receive. The most powerful people in the world were built in moments they could not escape. It's not in comfort, not in clarity, but in chaos, in pain, in the lonely places no one else wanted to go, because pain has a way of burning away everything fake. Your ego, gone. Your excuses, exposed. Your distractions, crushed. Pain leaves only what is real. You think you are weak, but the truth is, you have just avoided the fire. You have avoided the gym. You have avoided the hard conversations. You have avoided the failures that teach you who you are. You want power without suffering. That does not exist. You want transformation without tears. That is fantasy. Ask the warrior how he became strong. He will tell you it was pain. Ask the champion how she stayed focused. She will tell you it was pain. Ask the beast how he woke up. He will tell you the pain was louder than the excuses. It is not the pain that breaks you. It is your belief that pain means something is wrong. No, pain means something is happening. Every time you feel it, physical, emotional, mental, every time you hit that point where you want to give up, that is the exact moment power is being offered. And most people quit right there. They think, this is not for me. They run back to safety. They choose numbness. They choose the couch. They choose the lie. But you are not most people. If you want to be uncommon, you have to do what common people refuse to do. And that means welcoming the burn. It's not just tolerating it, welcoming it. Training your mind to say, this hurts. Good. That means I am alive. That means I am leveling up. Because there is no resurrection without the cross, no strength without the struggle, no greatness without grinding through the darkness. You think pain is a sign to stop, but what if it is the sign to keep going? What if the pain you feel right now is not punishment, but preparation? What if it is shaping you for the level you keep praying for? What if it is building the emotional calluses, the spiritual resilience, the mental toughness you are going to need? This is the tax of power. You are not entitled to ease. You are invited to rise. The higher you want to go, the heavier the weight gets. That is why most never climb. They want the view, but not the climb. They want the stage, but not the silence. They want the glory, but not the grit. But the pain is the proof that you are in the process. It is your certificate. It is your confirmation that something is being broken open inside you, and what comes next is stronger. So stop waiting for it to feel easy. Stop hoping it will get lighter. It will not. You will just get stronger. The only way to get stronger is to suffer. But the only way to grow is to grind. The only way to rise is to bleed. There is no shortcut. There is no hack. There is no YouTube tutorial for soul transformation. You either embrace the pain or you stay soft. You either go through the fire or you stay cold. You either break through or you break down. Make a choice. Because every excuse you make to avoid pain is a sacrifice of your own potential. You say it is too hard. And what you are really saying is, I am not ready for power. You say, I cannot handle this. And what you are really saying is, I am okay being average. You cannot cheat the process. The pain will come, but so will the strength if you stay in it. So next time your body screams, your mind doubts, your soul begs for relief, smile, because this is the price, and you are paying it. Pain is the price of power, and power is the only thing that can break your chains. You look around at your life, and it is so easy to believe that the circumstances define you, where you were born, how much money your parents had, the teachers who overlooked you, the friends who left, the boss who never gave you a chance, the economy, the politics, the trauma, the timing. All these things real, as they are become walls in your mind. And then you start decorating those walls. You hang labels on them. Victim, broken, not privileged, too late, too tired, too stuck, and slowly, painfully, you shrink. Not because life was too hard, because you believed it controlled you. Because you thought your environment had the final word. You thought your past would follow you forever. You thought you were cursed by what happened to you. But here's the truth. You are not a product of circumstance. You're a product of choice. You are never supposed to let life happen to you. You're supposed to take life, grip it with both hands, and bend it toward your vision. You are not supposed to surrender to your surroundings. You were built to rise above them. But that kind of transformation begins the moment you stop saying, I cannot, because, and start saying, I will anyway. That is the shift. That is the line between the average life and the awakened one. One side blames, the other side builds. And make no mistake, this world will always give you reasons to make excuses. But those excuses are cages with velvet walls. They feel soft, but they keep you trapped. Every time you say, I did not succeed because of my past, what you are really doing is giving your past more power than your present, and worse, more power than your future. That is a spiritual crime against your own potential. Let us talk about the story, because at the root of every excuse is a story you believe. And most people do not realize they are not just repeating a story. They are rehearsing their limits. Every day, every hour. Tell yourself, I am not the kind of person who does that. I never had the resources. My family was broken. No one ever believed in me. That story becomes your comfort zone. It sounds rational. It feels true. But it is killing your evolution. It is keeping you locked in an identity that was never yours to begin with. And if you want to break free, if you really want to live without excuses, then you have to interrupt the story. You have to challenge it. You have to look it in the eye and say, that might have been true before. It does not get to define who I am becoming. The power of your life is not in the facts, it is in the interpretation. Two people can go through the same tragedy. One becomes broken, the other becomes a warrior. What is the difference? Ownership. The moment you take ownership over your story, you stop being a character, you become the author. You rewrite the script, not from fantasy, but from fire. From the belief that life does not get to narrate your identity. Only you do. And that kind of authorship comes with pain. It means no more blaming, no more pointing fingers, no more waiting for life to get easier before you get stronger. It is not comfortable, but it is the only way out. Let me make this brutally clear. You are not a tree. You are not stuck. You are not planted where you are born and doomed to stay there. You are fluid, moldable, capable of reinvention. But only if you stop using your circumstances as permanent definitions. I have seen people with no limbs become athletes. I have seen refugees build empires. I have seen abuse survivors become leaders. Not because the world got easier, but because they stopped letting it define them. Excuses die the moment you face yourself honestly. No hiding, no blaming, no distortion. It's just raw, unfiltered truth. You have one life. No matter where it began, you get to decide where it ends. So look at your excuses. Every one of them is a permission slip to stay small. Rip them up. Because nothing outside of you is stronger than what is inside of you, unless you hand it the power. The people who rise are not the ones who have perfect starts. They are the ones who refuse to let their start determine their finish, and that is who you must become. Not someday, not after healing, not after everything is stable. Now, this is the war between circumstance and choice. Between what happened to you and what you do next. You do not need permission to rise. You need a decision. Decide now. There is a moment in every person's life where the noise fades. The excuses get quiet. The world stops spinning for just long enough, and you are left standing in front of one thing. A mirror. Not a mirror that reflects your face. A mirror that reflects your truth, your decisions, your disciplines, your fears, and your reality. This is what I call the mirror test. It is not about how the world sees you. It is about how you see you when nobody is watching. When there is no performance to uphold, no mask to wear, no applause to chase, just you. And the uncomfortable truth about the person you have allowed yourself to become. Because at some point you have to ask yourself, who am I? Without the excuses. If I strip away the justifications, the stories, the delays, the what-ifs, what is left? Would you be proud of that reflection? Would you feel exposed, ashamed, empty? Because let me tell you, that mirror never lies. It shows you what effort cannot fake. It shows you what Instagram will never show. It shows you the truth behind your eyes. Are you strong when it matters? Are you consistent when no one claps for you? Are you honest about your habits? Or are you just surviving behind a persona? This is the pain of the mirror. It will not lie to protect your feelings. It was built to confront them. And the most dangerous thing you can ever do is walk away from that mirror too fast. Most people never look long enough, because if they did, they would see something they cannot unsee. They would see the weight of wasted years. They would see the version of themselves they could have been. If they had been more disciplined, more honest, more ruthless about growth, and it is in that moment, when you finally meet the version of you without the excuses, that a storm brews inside you. Because now, you realize you were never broken. You were never incapable. You were just distracted by your comfort and too attached to your justifications. The mirror strips you of your victimhood. It exposes the laziness you called burnout. It reveals the procrastination you called overwhelm. It confronts the weakness you wrapped in "I am just being kind to myself." You thought you were protecting your peace, but really, you were protecting your limits. You were shielding your ego from the truth that you could have been more this whole time, but you lied to yourself. You convinced yourself that life was just too much, that your circumstances were too hard, that others had it easier. The mirror has no sympathy for that voice. It does not care how painful the truth is. because it knows the truth is the only way forward. And once you face it, there are only two options: shrink or rise. And most will shrink. Because rising requires shedding everything that made you comfortable, everything that kept you hidden, everything that made your excuses feel like identity. But then there are the rare few, the ones who look into the mirror, and instead of turning away, they lean in. They stare deeper. They say, "Let me see everything, even the parts I've been afraid of," because they know only the truth can free you. Only the truth can fuel you. Only the truth can build the kind of beast who stops making excuses and starts making history. That person in the mirror, raw, unfiltered, scarred, silent, that is the only competition that ever mattered. And when you finally see that, when you truly confront the gap between who you are and who you are meant to be, you are faced with the most important question of your life. What are you going to do about it? Not think about it, not journal it, not dream about it, do. Because at the end of your life, you will not be judged by what happened to you. You will be judged by what you became despite it. And that judgment does not come from society, does not come from your parents. It does not even come from your critics. It comes from the mirror.
Oh.
From the person you stare at every single day. And the hardest thing to live with is not failure. It is knowing that you lied to that person every day because you were too afraid to become them. But today, you can make that right. You can choose to become the person in the mirror you were always supposed to be. All you have to do is stop running. Face it. Own it. Become it. You have tried every trick in the book to justify why you are not where you want to be. You've made your excuses sound so poetic, so wise, so harmless. But let me ask you something, where has that gotten you? You are still stuck. You are still waiting. You are still hiding. And do you know why? Because you have not killed your excuses. You have pampered them. You have fed them. You have made them comfortable inside your mind like honored guests who never plan to leave. Keep telling yourself you will break free one day. But one day is not a date on the calendar. It is a graveyard for people who never move. The truth is brutal. You will not become unstoppable until you make a decision. And I am not talking about a motivational buzzword kind of decision. I am talking about a full-body, full-soul declaration that says, from this moment forward, my excuses are dead to me. You do not tame your excuses. You kill them. You incinerate every story that says I cannot. You rip out every whisper of not now. You tear down the walls you built to protect your own weakness. Excuses are not just lies. They are prisons, tiny invisible cages where greatness dies quietly. You want to know what the beast inside you really looks like? It is not gentle. It is not agreeable. It does not negotiate with limitation. It tears through it. But it only wakes up when excuses die. You think you are tired because you have worked hard? No, you are tired because you are carrying the dead weight of delay, avoidance, and fear. Drop it. Right now. No ceremony. Just truth. The version of you who keeps making excuses. That version has to burn, not improve, not be gently coached, not be healed. Burned, because you cannot build an empire with the mindset of a servant. And you cannot become the weapon the world needs if you keep shielding your softness with sophisticated language like self-care, timing, realism, or balance. No, let us call it what it is: avoidance. Let me tell you something that might hurt. Excuses are easier than effort, but effort builds you. Excuses erase you. Do you want to know who you really are? Look at what you do when no one is watching. Look at how you react to challenge. Look at what you prioritize when life gets chaotic. That is the real you. If you do not like what you see, that means the war is still going on inside. That means you still have time to win. But only if you are willing to burn it all down. The ego, the comfort, the waiting, the past, the stories, the reasons. There is no phoenix without fire, when there is no greatness without the death of your excuses. So I ask you right now, in this moment, are you ready to die? Is the old version of yourself? Because that is what it takes. The excuse-making version of you cannot survive if the beast is to rise. And the beast is not a fantasy. It is your original self. It is what remains when everything fake has been stripped away. It is raw. It is honest. It is terrifyingly capable. But that version of you does not come out. It must be unleashed, and the leash. It is made of every excuse you have ever spoken out loud or whispered to yourself. Rip it off. Right now. Do not analyze it. Do not soften it. Do not explain it. Just end it. Because the world is not changed by those who almost acted. It is changed by those who dared to become a storm. So stop waiting for the right mood. Stop praying for inspiration to strike. Stop babysitting your fears. Light the fire. They want your power. Take it. You want your discipline? Forge it. You want your purpose. Stop looking, become it. This is the line in the sand. There is before this moment and after. Before this moment, you were a story you kept telling. After this moment, you are a force the world cannot ignore. You were not put here to survive. You were put here to rise, to roar, to rewrite everything. No more hiding. No more soft steps. No more sugar-coated hesitation. Burn, and from those ashes walk out reborn. Welcome to war. Now fight. Every time you wake up and hesitate, every time you let your mind decide whether to push or to coast, you are entering a silent negotiation, not with logic, not with reason, but with weakness. Weakness is always in the room, always whispering, always bargaining, always offering you a softer deal, one where you get to avoid pain. Skip the hard work, delay the discipline, justify the delay, wrap yourself in comfort, and call it self-care. But let me tell you the truth. No one is shouting loudly enough. Weakness does not come with knives, it comes with pillows. And that is exactly why it wins. You are not losing your potential because you are incapable. You are not stuck because life is too hard. You are trapped because you keep sitting at the table with weakness and acting like it deserves a say. It does not. Weakness does not negotiate in your favor. It is not on your team. It is not protecting your energy. It is not listening to your body or respecting your limits. It is just dressing up in those words to keep you average. How many times have you known what to do, but let weakness convince you it was okay to skip it? You said you would get up early, but you negotiated. You said you would finish the work, but you gave yourself permission to do it later. Promise yourself this time was different, but weakness always showed up with a tempting counteroffer. And the worst part, you said yes. You gave it power. That little moment where you decide not to go to the gym. That one day where you let discipline slide. That conversation where you lied to yourself and said, "It is fine. I will get back on track tomorrow." Those are not isolated slips. They are contracts. Each time you say yes to weakness, you are signing a silent contract to underachieve. You are saying, "Here, take a piece of my greatness. I will trade it for a little more comfort today." But greatness is not built on comfortable days. It is built on refusal. It's on non-negotiation, on absolute clarity. You do not become unstoppable by trying to reason with your laziness. You become unstoppable the moment you stop letting weakness into the room. The moment you slam the door and say no more. Stop asking yourself if you feel like it. Stop waiting to be in the mood. Stop checking your energy levels like some fragile machine. You are not a battery to be conserved. You are a furnace to be fed. Real power comes when your actions are not up for debate. When you wake up and the gym is not optional, when writing your script is not up for discussion, when building your life is not a maybe, it is a must. Weakness hates commitment. It lives in ambiguity. It survives on hesitation. It thrives when you leave the door open even an inch. Close it, lock it, and throw away the key. You have got to build a mindset where weakness knows it has no seat at your table, where your identity is carved and disciplined so deep that no excuse can scratch it. You want transformation? Start here. Start by declaring war on negotiation. Refuse to keep discussing your goals with the very part of you that wants to destroy them, because if you keep giving weaknesses a voice, it will keep taking your vision. If you keep giving it time, it will keep stealing your greatness. If you keep giving it trust, it will betray you every single time. You must become the kind of person who moves without permission, who acts without debate, who pushes not because it is easy, but because it is necessary. That is what makes you different. Most people live like they are always in talks with themselves. I know I should do it, but maybe I will try again tomorrow. I just need to get in the right mindset. No, you need to stop the conversation. You need to walk away from the table. You need to burn the negotiation room to the ground. That voice of weakness in your head, it is not your therapist. It is not your friend. It is not your guide. It is your enemy. and you've been giving it the mic for far too long. Take it back, make your decisions once, and never open them back up for discussion. You said you would train, then train. You said you would build, then build. You said you would change, then change. No more explaining. No more justifying. No more being kind to yourself in the form of self-betrayal. Self-respect is doing the hard thing even when your feelings try to talk you out of it. Discipline is self-love in its rawest, most powerful form. And the moment you stop negotiating with weakness is the moment your power returns. There is a voice inside your mind. You hear it every day. It sounds like you. It uses your language. It even borrows your past experiences to seem credible. But here's the truth most of the time. That voice is not your ally. It is your enemy in disguise. It is not speaking facts. It is speaking fear. That voice tells you to wait until you are ready. That voice convinces you to stay quiet when you should speak up. It tells you not to try because you might fail. It tells you that one more day of procrastination will not hurt, that no one will notice, that your effort is pointless, that your goals are too far away, that your dreams are unrealistic, that you are not good enough, that you are too old, too young, too tired, too late. That voice is a liar, smooth-talking, well-trained liar who has been rehearsing the same lines your whole life. But here's what makes it dangerous. It does not shout, it whispers. It speaks in reasonable tones. It disguises itself as logic. It pretends to protect you from disappointment. It sells you safety. But in reality, it is selling you slow decay. It is negotiating your potential away. One excuse at a time. One delay at a time. One rational-sounding argument at a time. Where does this voice come from? It is not evil, it is human. It was born from years of rejection, failure, and fear. It was trained by moments where you tried and got hurt. Moments where you stepped out and fell hard. It is the protective instinct of your brain trying to keep you safe. But here is the brutal truth. Safe is not where greatness lives. Safe is not where dreams come true. Safe is not where you become the person you were meant to be. The voice in your head is outdated software. It was designed for survival, not success. It wants you to stay in the cave. It wants you to avoid risk. It wants you to stay with what you know. But the life you want is outside that cave, outside that comfort. And you will never reach it until you learn to question that voice. You will never break through until you call it what it really is, resistance in disguise. You will never transform until you confront the fact that most of your thoughts are not commands. They are just noise. They are just fears dressed as logic. Every time you say, "I cannot," that voice grows stronger. Every time you believe, "I am not ready," it digs in deeper. Every time you tell yourself it will not work, the lie gets louder. That is how it survives. That's how it controls you. But here's the power: you can change the dialogue. You can catch the lie mid-sentence. You can interrupt the fear. You can inject truth into the loop. You can replace "I cannot" with "I will." You can replace "I am not ready" with "I will prepare." You can replace "I will fail" with "I will learn." This is not about empty affirmations. This is about conscious rebellion. This is about becoming aware that every single day your mind will feed you stories, and you have a choice whether to believe them. You are not your thoughts. You are the observer of your thoughts. You are the one who chooses what stays and what gets destroyed. You have to stop letting every fearful sentence sit in your mind unchallenged. Just because the voice says it does not make it true. Just because it feels familiar does not mean it is right. Just because it sounds smart does not mean it is useful. Start tracking the voice. Pay attention to its patterns. You will find it shows up most when you are close to growth. You will notice it becomes loudest right before a breakthrough. That is not a coincidence. That is the survival brain sensing danger. But the danger it fears is not failure. It fears change. And change is exactly what you need. The liar in your head will try to make comfort look noble. It will make you feel like resting is wisdom, like quitting is mature, like giving up is logical. But beneath those layers, there is one truth. It is hiding from you. You're built for more. You are capable of more. And it knows that if you ever start acting on that truth, its power is finished. It loses. It dies the moment you take action. That is why it fights so hard to keep you still. That is why it whispers with so much fake concern. It knows that momentum will destroy it. It knows that once you act despite fear, the lie loses its grip. Some of you have believed that voice for years. Some of you have lived your whole lives listening to it. You have let it decide how far you go. You have let it dictate what risks you take. Have let it trap you in a box built from imaginary limits. But today can be different. Today you can learn to answer back. Today you can say, I hear you, but I am moving anyway. Today you can say, thank you for your opinion, but I have work to do. Today you can stand up to that voice with evidence of every time you pushed through. Every time you kept going. Every time you broke past fear and came out stronger. The liar in your head does not have to run the show anymore. You're the writer now. You are the narrator. You get to choose what story gets told. Because if you do not take control of that voice, it will continue to narrate your life with regret. It will keep rewriting your potential as missed opportunity. It will keep turning your victories into doubts. It will keep dragging you down just when you are about to rise. You owe it to yourself to fight back. You owe it to your future to speak truth louder than fear. You owe it to your purpose to silence that liar once and for all. The voice in your head is a liar. It may sound like you, but it is not you. From this moment on, it does not get to decide who you become. You are trying to change your life, trying to rise, to evolve, to break old patterns, but every time you take one step forward, something around you pulls you back. A voice, a post, a friend, a joke, a lifestyle. You think it is just coincidence? But it is not. The truth is, your environment is not neutral. It is shaping you every second, the people around you, the content you consume, the culture you breathe in. Every one of those elements is either reinforcing your power or feeding your excuses. There are no spectators in your life. Everything is either adding to your growth or slowly bleeding it away. Most people live in an environment full of invisible permission slips. You would not notice them unless you look closely. But they are everywhere. Permission to quit when it gets hard. Permission to laugh at discipline. Permission to delay your goals because life is short. Permission to binge, to waste time, to normalize mediocrity. Permission to say, at least I am not as bad as them. This is the real battlefield. It's not just in your mind, but in your surroundings. You are not just fighting your own excuses. You are also fighting the comfort that everyone else is cheering for. Your friends might love you, but are they pushing you? Or are they giving you just enough validation to keep you stuck? When you say, I should wake up earlier, do they laugh and say, relax, you deserve rest? When you talk about building something big, do they bring up how hard it is or how many people fail? When you say no to a distraction, do they pressure you into saying yes? Most people do not sabotage you intentionally, but their presence becomes a quiet sabotage. Their low standards leak into your habits. Their excuses start sounding logical because you hear them often. Their pace becomes your pace. Their ceiling becomes your ceiling. And one day, without realizing it, you are just another version of the very people you promised yourself you would never become, because you stayed in the same circle. You breathed the same atmosphere. You let the environment write your script. But here's the truth. If you are serious about transformation, you have to get radical about your environment. Look around you. Your phone is not just a tool, it is a portal. Every scroll, every post, every video is shaping your standards. And if your feed is full of comfort culture, dopamine quick fixes, and influencers who sell laziness dressed as self-care, you are not getting inspired, you are getting infected. You're not just wasting time, you're being conditioned. Your expectations are being lowered one scroll at a time. You're being trained to be okay with average. You are being convinced that effort is toxic, that pain is avoidable, that ambition is unhealthy. And worst of all, you are being surrounded by thousands of people who agree. That is the danger of a passive environment. TIT does not scream at you, it whispers. It says you are doing fine. It says at least you are not suffering. It says you do not need to change right now. And you believe it because it feels good. But what feels good now often feels like regret later. What comforts you now often confines you later. If you want to rise, you have to create what I call a no excuse zone. That means redesigning your environment to be hostile to laziness and allergic to excuses. That means surrounding yourself with people who challenge you, not people who tolerate your weaknesses, but people who remind you of your strength. People who make your excuses feel embarrassing. People who make discipline look normal. People who are doing so much with so little that you can no longer justify doing so little with so much. You do not need more cheerleaders. You need mirrors. You need friction. You need forces in your life that refuse to let you shrink. If every conversation feels safe and easy, you are in the wrong rooms. If your circle never confronts you, never questions you, never stretches you, then you are not in a circle, you are in a cage. A cage made of comfort, a cage padded with justification. A cage that feels like friendship, but functions like a trap. And yes, building a no-excuse zone comes at a cost. You might lose people, you might outgrow relationships. You might have to unfollow, unsubscribe, detach. You might become the intense one, the too serious one. It's the one who changed. But here is the truth: growth always costs. Its comfort has a currency, and so does greatness. One will cost you your potential. The other will cost you approval. You choose. You want to fit in, or do you want to break through? You cannot have both. The environment that supports your excuses will never support your evolution. So stop pretending you can stay the same and somehow become different. Here is what you must understand. Excuses are contagious. If you are around people who constantly complain, you will start finding reasons to complain. If you are around people who joke about discipline, you will start mocking effort. If you are around people who do not believe in change, you will start doubting yourself. That is how permission slips work. They are invisible, but powerful. They are not handed to you directly. They are absorbed through culture, through behavior, through repetition. And unless you become conscious, you will keep collecting them until one day your entire life is built around justifications instead of results. You will look back and realize you did not lack potential. You just had too many permissions. Permissions to stay weak, to stay average, to stay unchallenged. But now you see it. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. The air around you either breathes power into your lungs or fills them with poison. You have to take control. That means becoming intentional with every input. If a podcast makes you feel sharp, focused, and energized, add more. If a social media feed makes you doubt yourself or desire distraction, cut it out. If a friend respects your goals, honors your time, and pushes you to grow, keep them close. If someone drags you back into drama, gossip, and wasted time, walk away. No apology needed. This is your life. This is your arena. And you cannot afford to let your environment be a liability. Build a space that makes excuses uncomfortable. A space where growth is normal, where vision is respected, where discipline is honored. A space where your future self would be proud to live. That might mean waking up early while others sleep. It might mean staying in while others party. It might mean working on your craft while others binge and scroll. But here is the reward: freedom, not the fake freedom of laziness. The real freedom of being who you were meant to be. The freedom of walking into any room knowing you earned your presence. The freedom of building a life where excuses are no longer welcome. Your environment is not just where you live, it is who you become. And if you want to become something extraordinary, you have to stop accepting permission slips from the ordinary. Burn them. Tear them up. Refuse to carry them into your future, because every excuse you eliminate is one brick removed from the wall between you and your potential. And the sooner you build a no-excuse zone, the sooner your real transformation begins. Excuses do not survive in strength. They survive in weakness. They feed on blame. They grow in the soil of helplessness. And the most dangerous thing about excuses is not that they are wrong, but that they make you feel right while they kill your power. They do not feel like poison. They feel like protection, like comfort, like justice. But in reality, every excuse you tell yourself is a silent agreement with defeat. And that agreement begins the moment you choose to be a victim. Being a victim gives you something. A narrative that says, this is not my fault. And that feels good for a moment, because as long as it is not your fault, you do not have to change. You do not have to try harder. You do not have to suffer. The victim mindset is seductive, because it always comes with sympathy, and sympathy is addicting. You start craving it, start needing it. You start building your identity around it. And without knowing, you become committed to your wounds instead of your power. But here's what no one tells you. The more sympathy you collect, the weaker you become. The more you explain your failure, the more you normalize it. Start building a prison out of soft words. a cage out of comfort. And you decorate that cage with quotes, slogans, and stories that make you feel righteous in your retreat. You say, people should understand me. You say, it is hard for people like me. You say, I have been through so much. And yes, maybe you have. Maybe you have been through hell. But here's the truth. What you have been through is not a prophecy. Got it. It is a chapter. You do not have to keep living there. Got it. You do not have to make pain your permanent address. You do not have to stay the victim. Because the moment you stop defending your weakness is the moment you start building your strength. There is a warrior inside you, not the loud kind. Not the one who posts quotes and yells motivation, a quiet, lethal kind. A warrior who does not wait for permission, who does not cry for validation, who does not use pain as an excuse, who uses it as fuel. That warrior is real. But that warrior is buried under layers of lies. Lies that say you are not responsible. Lies that say you cannot help it. Lies that say you are stuck. Those lies keep the victim alive. As long as the victim is alive, the warrior stays buried. You cannot be both. You cannot play helpless and expect to be powerful. You cannot blame and build at the same time. You cannot wear the costume of weakness and expect the world to treat you like a conqueror. At some point, you have to choose. Do I want sympathy or do I want strength? Because you cannot have both. You have to kill the victim inside you. You have to bury that identity, the one that flinches, the one that folds, the one that breaks down at the first sign of pressure. That version of you is not worthy of your future. That version of you was built by pain, yes, but it was also built by surrender. And if you want to evolve, surrender is no longer an option. Responsibility is not easy. It means accepting that your life is in your hands. It means no more blaming your parents. No more blaming your past. No more blaming the economy, the algorithm, the system, or society. It means looking in the mirror and saying, if I fail, it is on me. That sounds brutal. It sounds heartless. But it is the only path to true freedom. Because once you own everything, you can change anything. That is what warriors do. They do not need fair conditions. They do not wait for ideal circumstances. They build fire in the cold. They find purpose in the pain. And they walk into the storm not because they enjoy suffering, but because they know who they become on the other side. But here's what you need to understand. The victim in you will not die quietly. It will scream. It will beg. It will come back dressed as logic. It will say things like, you need rest when you have not earned rest. It will say, you have done enough when you have barely begun. It will say, you are only human when you are capable of becoming so much more. The victim voice will not disappear overnight, but you can starve it. You can stop feeding it sympathy. You can start feeding it accountability. And every time you choose responsibility over blame, the victim loses oxygen. The warrior grows stronger. You are not broken. You are not doomed. You are not less than. You are simply choosing the wrong identity. You are choosing the version of you that is easy to be. But easy is not your path. Power is. And power is earned by facing yourself, your lies, your habits, your patterns, breaking them, even when it hurts, especially when it hurts. That pain you feel when you push through weakness, that is the sound of the victim dying. Let it die. Your greatness is not hidden behind motivation. It is hidden behind brutal honesty, behind radical responsibility, behind painful growth. If you keep waiting for a savior, you will never become your own. If you keep explaining your failure, you will never build your success. If you keep choosing comfort, you will never meet your potential. The world does not need another victim. It needs more warriors, quiet warriors, relentless warriors. Warriors who wake up with a mission, not a complaint. Kill the victim. Build the warrior. And watch your entire life change. You think your excuses are just words? It's just little statements to help you feel better, to soften the blow, to explain the delay. But what you fail to see, what most people never dare to admit, is that every excuse you make comes with a cost. And it is not measured in minutes or productivity. It is measured in lives, in versions of yourself that will never be born, in chapters that will never be written, in victories that will never be claimed. Your excuses are not harmless. They are assassins. They are killers of the highest order. And the person they kill is you. You could have been stronger. You could have been wiser. You could have been someone people remembered, someone people looked up to. You could have left a legacy. But no, you told yourself not today. You told yourself it is too hard. You said, I am tired and it does not matter, and maybe next week. Those excuses were not casual. They were executions. And each one buried a version of you that could have changed everything. Think back. Really think. How many times did you know what you needed to do and you did not do it? How many days did you have energy but chose the couch? How many dreams did you have but handed them over to fear, to laziness, to insecurity, wrapped in the disguise of logic? You want to know why your life is not where you want it to be? Start counting the bodies. It's the bodies of all the versions of you that were murdered by your own excuses. You should be angry, furious, not at others, not at the world, but at yourself. At the silent betrayal you have been committing year after year. You betrayed your own potential, looked your greatness in the eye and turned away. You had moments, thousands of them, where you were one decision away from rising. And instead, you chose to rest, to delay, to escape. That is not weakness, that is treason. You betrayed the strongest version of you, and you did it with a smile. With words that sounded reasonable, but those words were not reason. They were resignation. Look around your life right now. Every corner of mediocrity, every place you feel regret, every dream that feels distant. Those are graveyards, and you dug the holes. You put your ambition in the ground. You buried your own progress, because you wanted the temporary comfort of not trying. That is what an excuse is, a funeral speech for the person you could have been. But here is the deeper truth. It does not stop with you. Excuses are not just self-destructive, they are contagious. Every time you normalize weakness, someone watching you gets permission to quit. Every time you post your excuse online, someone else reads it and feels validated in their failure. You are not just killing your own potential, you are dragging others down with you. That is the body count you never measure. The inspiration you failed to become, the standard you failed to raise. You could have been the one that made them believe. Instead, you became the one that made them settle. You talk about being a leader, you want respect, you want to be remembered, then act like it. Show the world what it looks like when a human being refuses to make excuses, when a human being refuses to stay soft, when a human being refuses to betray their own soul. That kind of power is not loud. It is not motivational. It is terrifying, because it exposes everyone else's comfort. It burns away the fog of mediocrity, reminds people of what they could have been in. That is why they resist it. But it is also why they need it. Do you want to be that person? Do you want to be the one who sets the new standard? Then you must understand, there is no room for excuses in greatness. None. Zero. Every time you let one slip through your mind, you give your power away. You water down your fire. You hand your future to fear, dressed in soft, reasonable language. And in doing so, you commit spiritual suicide. It's not all at once. Slowly, quietly, with every I cannot, every maybe later, every I just do not feel like it. That is how your potential dies, not in dramatic failure, but in small daily betrayals. But you can stop, right now. You can become the undertaker of your excuses, instead of the victim. You can start digging graves for your weakness, instead of for your strength. You can start counting the lives you are about to save, instead of the ones you already lost. And that starts with this one truth, brutal, raw, inescapable. No one is coming to rescue you from your own excuses. You have to drag yourself out. Bleeding, broken, honest. You have to become the version of you that looks those excuses in the eye and says, not today, not ever again. Do not ask for motivation. Do not wait for perfect timing. Just look at the bodies. Look at what your excuses have already cost you. The friendships you lost, the opportunities you missed, health you destroyed, the confidence you shattered. That is not theoretical. That is real. Those are real pieces of your life that are now 6 feet deep, because you let your weakness speak louder than your will. You proud of that? Is that who you want to be remembered as? You want to live? Then kill the excuses before they kill you. Stand at the gravesite of your former self and decide, I will not dig another hole. From this moment on, every time I want to quit, I build. Every time I want to lie to myself, I'll tell the truth. Every time I feel the old voice whisper, I shut it down with action. Because that is the only thing that silences excuses, not affirmations, not books, not waiting for inspiration. Action. Raw, violent, relentless action. It's a kind of action that feels unreasonable, the kind that makes no room for softness. The kind that is driven by rage not at the world, but at the wasted time, at the wasted life, at the wasted versions of yourself you let die. Let this be the last grave you dig, and let every day from this moment forward be a resurrection. Weakness is not just a phase, is not just a dip in discipline or a moment of self-doubt. It is a substance, a drug. The first time you give in to it, it feels like a relief, like something warm, like an escape from pressure. But what you do not realize is that this one escape plants a seed. Chemical reaction begins. Your brain makes a connection. This feels better than effort. And so the addiction begins. The first time you skip a workout, nothing falls apart. The world keeps spinning. The sky does not collapse. But inside, you have taken the first hit. Your brain whispers, "See? You got away with it." You give yourself permission to slide. You call it self-care. You say it is just today. You pretend this is balance. But really it is the beginning of decay. Weakness rewards you with instant relief and long-term damage. It feels good in the moment and ruins you slowly. And like all addictions, it does not stay contained. It spreads. You skip a workout, then you hit snooze, then you lie to yourself, then you say, "I will start again next week." Next week becomes next month. And the addict you swore you would never become the lazy version of you used to despise, he becomes your new identity. You know it is happening. You feel the shift. You feel your edge disappearing. But the drug has its grip. It numbs the guilt, and excuses become your enablers. You keep feeding yourself fake logic. "I had a rough day. I do not feel motivated. It is not the right season. I deserve a break." You stack excuse on top of excuse like a junkie stacking lies. And every time you use one, you go deeper into the cycle. The danger of weakness is not just in what it takes from your body. It is in what it steals from your mind. It rewires your standards. Right? It convinces you that average is acceptable. It trains you to fear hard things. Teaches you to associate effort with suffering. And then one day you look in the mirror and you do not recognize the person staring back. You used to be sharp. Now you hesitate. You used to move with urgency. Now you waste hours. You used to have a fire. Now you are just comfortable. Comfort becomes your coffin. You are alive, but not really. Breathing, but not living. Because weakness has numbed your potential to death. You think you are in control. But that is the lie. Just like an addict, you have lost the power to say no. You tell yourself you are making healthy compromises. You think you are listening to your body. But what you are really doing is obeying the voice of weakness. That voice is seductive. It uses your own emotions against you. It makes you believe that quitting is self-love. It makes you believe that settling is self-respect. But those are lies. Real love pushes. Real respect holds you to a standard. Weakness uses twisted versions of truth to trap you. That is why you cannot negotiate with it, cannot reason with it. You cannot taper off slowly. You have to go cold turkey. You want to know how to break this addiction? Rip the needle out, refuse to feed it. Stop giving excuses oxygen. Starve your laziness to death, and yes, it will hurt. The first time you deny weakness, it will scream louder than ever. It will throw tantrums. Your mind will feel like it is under attack. Your body will resist. That is withdrawal. That is what it feels like when the addiction starts to die. You have to sit in that fire and not flinch. That is how strength is born. It's not by easing into it, but by rejecting the lie completely. You will not escape weakness by waiting for motivation. You will not escape it by journaling, by meditating, or by buying another book. You break this cycle by action. Ruthless, repeated action. You fight your way out of it like a soldier clawing out of a grave. And each time you win, each time you act when it is hard, you build immunity. You become anti-weak, anti-excuse, anti-victim. Your tolerance for laziness dies. Your addiction to weakness fades. Discipline replaces it. Hunger replaces it. Fire replaces it. But make no mistake, this is not a one-time decision. This is war. It never ends. Weakness will wait. It will come back. It will tempt you on cold mornings and lonely nights. It will disguise itself in words like kindness, patience, balance, but you will see it for what it is, poison in pretty packaging. And when you feel its pull, you will remember, I am not a slave anymore. I do not serve that voice. I do not need the hit. I choose pain. I choose hunger. I choose strength. That is what separates the elite from the addicted, the warrior from the weakened. They know weakness is always there, lurking, waiting, whispering, but they do not feed it. They dominate it, every day, every choice, every hour, because they understand the truth. Weakness is addictive, but power is too. And once you have tasted what it feels like to dominate your own mind, you will never go back. You are not broken. That is the lie you have been sold. You are not damaged. You are not cursed. You are not traumatized beyond repair. What you are is undisciplined. That is it, is the whole truth. And it is a truth no one wants to say out loud, because the world is addicted to sympathy. We live in an age where everyone wants to be wounded. Everyone wants to be a victim. Everyone wants their story to justify their stagnation. I had a rough childhood. I have anxiety. My parents did not support me. I have been through a lot. So has everyone else. You are not special because you have scars. You are not disqualified because life hurt you. You are only stuck because you keep using your pain as a hall pass to avoid effort. This new culture of over-pathologizing every struggle has infected your mindset. You hear the word trauma and assume it is permanent. You read pop psychology posts and start diagnosing yourself with every condition under the sun. Instead of building a life of resilience, you build a life around your labels. You craft identities from your problems. And slowly, you stop growing because healing becomes your full-time job. But here is the uncomfortable truth no one will tell you. You do not need healing. You need discipline. You need structure. You need rules, not therapy loops, not emotional processing for 10 years. It's not a tribe that pampers your pain. You need hard boundaries. Early mornings, tough decisions. You need to put down the mirror and pick up the hammer. Your life is not falling apart because you are too broken to function. It is falling apart because you are too undisciplined to operate. You are eating garbage. You are sleeping late. You are scrolling endlessly. You're avoiding hard conversations. You are living without a code. And then you call the fallout depression. You self-medicate with entertainment, comfort food, and fake productivity. You confuse stimulation with progress. And then you wonder why your soul feels heavy. It is not a mystery. You are not sick. You are soft. The body and brain thrive under order. They deteriorate under chaos. So that means your feelings are not always the problem. Your lack of structure is, if you woke up at the same time every day, ate clean, trained like a savage, turned off distractions, chased mastery, and spoke the truth, you would be shocked how much of your emotional pain disappears. You would discover that what you thought was anxiety was just a lack of direction. What you labeled as depression was just the consequence of stagnation. What you thought was trauma was just unresolved laziness hiding behind complex language. Because when your days are weak, your mind will be too. Healing is not about talking endlessly about what hurt you. Real healing is about building something so strong that nothing can hurt you again. You get stronger by getting structured. You heal by getting hardened. The world taught you that softness is strength, that being open and emotional and endlessly vulnerable is bravery. No, bravery is showing up anyway. Bravery is keeping your word. Bravery is saying no to comfort. Bravery is doing the thing you do not feel like doing. Discipline is the real self-love. Structure is the real self-care. You think discipline is the opposite of freedom. You think rules are chains. You think routine is a prison. But that is what the undisciplined tell themselves. That is what the addicted believe. The truth is that freedom is on the other side of obedience. Only a disciplined man is free. Free from chaos. Free from regret. Free from mediocrity. Free from the weight of weakness. A disciplined man owns his mornings, controls his tongue, sharpens his mind, and carves his destiny. There is no healing greater than that. Stop calling it healing when you are just hiding. Stop calling it growth when you are just overthinking. Stop calling it trauma when you are just undisciplined. You want to change your life? Then write a code. Stick to it. Make it non-negotiable. Wake up early. Move your body. Eat fuel, not feelings. Study build. Protect your time like it is sacred, because it is. And when your mind screams, "But I am tired. But I am sad," you say, "Good. Do it anyway." This is what the greats understand. They are not emotionally perfect. They just do not negotiate with feelings. They show up with tears in their eyes, They execute through heartbreak. They grind while the voice in their head says, "You can quit." They are not healed. They are forged, built in fire, sharpened by repetition, strengthened by war. But that is who you must become. You are not broken. You are undisciplined. And that is not an insult, it is a roadmap, because discipline is a skill. It can be built, it can be trained, it can be upgraded like a muscle. The problem is, you do not want to hear that, because it puts the power in your hands. And if the power is in your hands, then the failure is too. That is what makes people uncomfortable. They do not want power, they want permission to remain powerless. Not you. Not anymore. From this moment on, stop nursing your weakness. Stop romanticizing your pain. Stop chasing healing and start chasing excellence. Wake up and build a system that makes excuses irrelevant. Build a life that does not wait for motivation. Build habits that do not care how you feel, because that is how real warriors rise. It's not through magic, not through perfect childhoods. It's through structure, through sacrifice, through relentless work. But you are not broken. You're undisciplined. And that is the best news you will ever hear. Because now you know. It is fixable. Perfection is a trap. It is the most elegant excuse you will ever use. It sounds noble. It sounds intelligent. But it is poison. Perfection whispers, "Not yet. I am not ready. I need more time." And you believe it. Because you think your best work will come once everything is aligned. Once your pain settles, once your mind clears, once your confidence returns, you wait for the conditions to be ideal. You delay the mission until you feel better. That is how years pass. That's how you bury your greatness under layers of hesitation disguised as preparation. But real life is war. And war does not wait for perfection. The battlefield is not clean. Your sword will slip. Your shield will crack. Your heart will doubt. But the only thing that separates winners from watchers is this: they showed up anyway. Broken, bleeding, unprepared, outnumbered, but present. That is what greatness actually looks like. It is not elegant. It is not poetic. It is bloody. It is crooked. It is chaotic. But it moves forward every single day.
I know.
The reason most people stay stuck is not because they are lazy yet, is because they are perfectionists. They are addicted to the idea of ideal timing, and ideal timing is fiction. It does not exist. You are either in motion or you are not. And the more you wait to feel ready, the more power you give to your excuses. Because excuses love perfection. They thrive on the illusion of someday. They keep you polishing plans that are never executed. They keep you in rehearsal mode forever. But discipline does not care how you feel. Discipline does not wait for motivation. Discipline says, you are tired. Good, show up anyway. You are heartbroken? Good. Show up anyway. You are scared? Show up anyway. Discipline is not glamorous. It's not cinematic. It is ugly, mechanical, relentless action in the face of chaos. Look back at every major breakthrough in your life. Not the pretty ones. The real ones. The times you changed for good. You will find a common pattern. You were not ready. You did not feel strong. You were overwhelmed, uncertain, even broken. But you did the thing anyway. In that moment, perfect and royous, what changed you? Because that is where power is born. Not in the flawless performance, but in the courageous attempt. That is where self-respect begins. That is where momentum starts. You showed up when you could have stayed down. Most people are waiting for perfect energy, perfect clarity, perfect circumstances. But the man who shows up in the worst of it, that man becomes dangerous. That man cannot be stopped, cannot be manipulated by mood. He cannot be seduced by comfort. He cannot be bought by ease, because his action is not tied to how he feels. His action is tied to who he is. That is the shift. You do not act because you feel ready. You act because you are a man of action. Full stop. There will be days you wake up foggy. You will stumble. You will feel unworthy. Your body will scream for rest. Your brain will beg for delay. Show up anyway. You will lose people. You will be betrayed. You will run into chaos. You will doubt the entire point of your work. Show up anyway. You will be broke. You will be mocked. You will make mistakes. Show up anyway. That is the creed. That is the code. You do not show up because it feels good. You show up because it is who you are, because the mission matters more than your mood. And every time you do, every time you take action when it hurts, you carve a new identity. You wire your brain for resilience. You create muscle memory for power. You become someone your past self would fear and your future self will thank. And that word, identity, is everything. That is where all excuses die. If you see yourself as the kind of person who only works when it is convenient, you will always quit. But if you become the kind of person who shows up ugly, shows up bleeding, shows up messy, then nothing can stop you. Not the fear, not the fatigue, not the failures. Because you are not chasing perfection anymore. You are chasing presence. And presence is where the power is. Understand this. You will never be perfectly ready. You will never feel 100% clear. You will never eliminate all doubt. So stop waiting for that version of yourself. He is not coming. But there is a version of you who shows up now, who acts without certainty, who moves through the storm. Find him, feed him, let him take control, because that man is a weapon. If you show up only when it is easy, you will be average. If you show up when it is hell, you will be unstoppable. So forget pretty, forget polished, forget ideal. Just show up. Show up with broken sleep. Show up with tears in your eyes. Show up with a lump in your throat. Show up with fear in your belly. Show up with your fists clenched and your heart half beating, but show up, especially then, because that is the version of you the world is waiting for. The raw one, the real one, the relentless one. Greatness is not built by the ready, it is built by the relentless. The ones who crawl when they cannot walk. The ones who speak when their voice is shaking. The ones who rise when everything inside them screams, stay down. That is who you are becoming, fandom, if you show up. Excuses are habits. They are not logical decisions. They are not careful assessments. They are automatic, unconscious patterns you have repeated for so long that they now live in your nervous system. You flinch away from discomfort the same way a hand pulls away from fire. It's not because you think it is, because you are trained, you are wired. And that wiring is killing your potential. But here's the truth. Habits can be broken. Reflexes can be reprogrammed. You are not stuck. You are conditioned. And the cure for excuses is execution. Every time you hesitate, you are feeding the excuse. Every time you rationalize, you are strengthening the circuit. But every time you act immediately, aggressively, you fracture the old pattern. You teach your body that hesitation is no longer the default. You replace weakness with muscle. You replace fear with fire. One decision at a time. This is not about motivation. It is not about waiting for the right feeling. It is about using your will to build a new identity. One action at a time. One rep at a time. One uncomfortable step at a time. You must become the kind of person who executes before they explain, who moves before they negotiate, who acts before they analyze. Because execution is a discipline. It is a lifestyle. It is a default setting. And the only way to overwrite the excuse circuit is with consistent, deliberate, relentless action. This is not a metaphor. This is literal biology. Your brain is a pattern recognition machine. If it senses that hesitation leads to comfort, it will keep feeding hesitation. If it senses that action leads to discomfort, it will keep protecting you from action. That is what your brain does. It tries to keep you safe. Safe is not power. Safe is not growth. Safe is not greatness. You must teach your brain that discomfort is the new safe. That forward is the only option. That excuses lead to pain, and execution leads to freedom. This starts small, micro decisions. You are tired, go anyway. You are nervous, speak anyway. You are confused, start anyway. Build the reflex. Kill the delay. Rewire the system. Do not give yourself time to rationalize. Do not let your brain sell you another lie. Cut it off. Mid-thought, mid-fear, move, act, execute. Let the habit form. And yes, it will feel unnatural at first. Of course it will, because you are battling a lifetime of excuses. You are unlearning a language. You are dismantling an identity. But if you stay consistent, you act again and again, despite the noise, it will flip. Your nervous system will adapt. The resistance will weaken. The execution will become easier. Eventually, it becomes who you are. You will notice it in how you walk, how you breathe, how you speak. You will not need to hype yourself up anymore. You will not need 10 reasons to do the right thing. You will just do it automatically because that is who you are now. That is what you have trained. That is the beast you have built. People will call it discipline. People will call it obsession, but you will know the truth. It is reflex. It is a nervous system calibrated for dominance. It is a brain rewired for war. No more hesitation. No more second guessing. It's no more explanation. It's only execution. Replace the excuse with motion. Replace the doubt with a decision. Replace the story with a step forward. That is how you win. Not with the perfect plan. Not with the perfect mindset. The perfect habit. Action. This is how you build an unstoppable identity. One that no longer negotiates. One that no longer folds. One that does not need to feel ready, or confident, or fearless. One that acts instinctively, repeatedly, relentlessly, because at the end of the day, your excuses do not matter. Your stories do not matter. Your fear does not matter. What matters is this. Did you move, or did you freeze? Did you execute, or did you escape? Did you rise, or did you run? There is no magic. There is no secret. There is only this. Replace the excuse with execution. Again and again and again, till it becomes all you know. This is it. The end of the lie. The death of every justification, every delay, every watered-down version of who you were pretending to be. The excuses are gone. You have buried them one by one. You have dragged them into the light and watched them disintegrate. You are no longer feeding the weakness. You are no longer negotiating with your own chains. You have cut them, burned them, left nothing but ash. And now it is just you. No backup plan, no soft landing, no one coming to save you. That version of Yutha, one that needed a safety net, the one that needed more time, the one that needed everyone to understand, is dead. You killed it, and it needed to die, because that version was holding you back. That version was caged in comfort and drowning in someday. You do not need it anymore, because now you see clearly. You see that your potential was never about talent. It was never about motivation. It was never about being ready. It was always about the moment you finally decided that nothing would stop you. That the only way forward was through the fire. You are the fire now. The rebirth is not gentle. It is not quiet. It is not poetic. It is violent. It is painful. It is raw. It is the moment when every weak part of you screams to go back and you move forward anyway. That is the rise. Not when it feels good, not when it is easy, but when it hurts like hell and you do it anyway. This is not inspiration. This is execution, with your soul on the line. You're not allowed to shrink anymore. You're not allowed to explain yourself to people who gave up on themselves. You are not allowed to carry the weight of everyone's opinion. You do not owe anyone comfort. You owe yourself the truth. And the truth is this. You are always the answer. You are always capable. You are always the warrior buried beneath excuses, waiting to wake up. Now you have, look around. There is no more crutch, no more permission slip, no more reason to pause. You have come too far. You have burned too many lies. You have faced too many demons. You cannot stop now. There is no version of you left that tolerates quitting. Now it begins. Not when you feel ready, not when it is perfect, but now bloody, exhausted, reborn. This is your becoming. This is the rise. You walk through the fire not because you enjoy the pain, but because you have accepted it. You do not avoid the storm, you step into it. Fully, without flinching, without a mask, without the excuse. Because the excuse was always the enemy. It was the small voice that told you to wait. The illusion that made weakness look like wisdom. The poison that kept you soft. You have spit it out. You have chosen war. You have chosen hunger. You have chosen to become unrecognizable to the version of you who used to flinch, and now that person is gone. They did not make it through the fire, but you did. So what now? You rise. And you keep rising. You build the habits. You execute daily. You ignore the noise. You rewrite the story. You make power your new normal. Become the reason people believe again. Become the proof that change is real, that transformation is possible, that excuses are optional. Let the world watch you. Let them doubt. Let them criticize. Let them call you obsessed. Call you extreme. Call you arrogant. Let them say whatever they want. But when the smoke clears, when the pain settles, when the noise dies down, they will see you standing there. No excuses, no backup plan, only one truth remaining. You walk through fire and became the fire. You do not go back. You do not explain. You do not beg for permission. You simply rise and never stop rising. This is the death of excuses and the rise of you. If this video helped you kill even one excuse in your life, then make sure you like, share, and subscribe right now, because someone else out there needs to hear this. Someone else out there is trapped in lies. Help them break free. And join us as we build a world where weakness is no longer welcome.